Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, we got a very special guest joining us on this episode. Rachel Kane has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast,
Hey,
Rachel. Very excited.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for being here. Rachel, you are here to talk about Pikmin. Pikmin 3 Deluxe just released on Nintendo Switch a few weeks ago. So that's going to be our main topic for today's episode 89. In the news, we're going to discuss some rumors, as we always do. Crash Bandicoot 4, some exciting Nintendo financial software sales.
It is exciting.
It is. I love it. I love talking numbers. The next-gen launch, PS4 and Xbox One Series X came out, so we'll be discussing that. Some Nintendo Black Friday deals here in North America. It's going to be a good one. I promise.
Sounds good to me.
Before we get started, how is everyone doing?
Good. Busy.
Yeah.
Doing all right. Got back from that big, long trip. Thanks for holding down the fort while I was gone, guys. You guys did an excellent episode talking about that Direct Mini Partner Showcase. So good job on that one.
I don't know, man. It's been a wild couple of weeks here with the election and
what are you? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
And the current state of things. I've been a little bit stressed.
You've been doom scrolling?
I've been in a constant state of stress, I think, because of it.
Yeah. I've been doom scrolling on the politics subreddit when they had like all those mega threads. They were up to 70 or something like that.
Yeah, it went up to 69. The 69th one was only people commenting nice.
Nice.
And then they were like, all right, mega thread 70 for real this time. Yeah, it was cool. I will say I really recommend at the most stressful time in American politics just getting the fuck out of Dodge. Like we were like on the election night, we were like in a cabin, like right on the lip of the Grand Canyon. And it was just cool just watching CNN trying to not stress out next to the world's biggest hole. I'd recommend it.
Oh man.
Oh, can I also make a quick plug up top? My movie Call Me Brother has released, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks to everybody who's been watching so far this past weekend. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it's up, it's online. If you go to www.callmebrother.com, there's all these different platforms that you can check it out. It's like a really sweet movie about Nintendo. So if you're a Nintendo fan, I think you would appreciate it. So go check it out.
Oh, that's not true, David.
Let him find the spin.
Got to get the plug out there, man. Got to get the plug out there.
Well, we did a couple of episodes and couple quick shout outs to some folks. We did, like David said, we did a special episode on the Direct Mini Partner Showcase, and wherein Matthew, you compared it to a combo snack, the snack that we have here of combos.
The road trip snack of choice combos. And
that got us some feedback. Matt Manchester and Kyle Baker both had some thoughts on combos.
You gotta love when the takeaway from like an insightful discussion episode is just talking about combos for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a shitty snack. I think Kyle wasn't really into it, right?
No, I think he said that's how he judged people.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I love
it. If only
it.
the world were that easy.
And then also Kyle and Summer, they both had some nice long thoughts about politics in games, which is probably beyond the scope of us getting into it here, but join our Discord and go check that out. There's some really thoughtful discussion there about that. Especially Kyle like broke down all the dimensions of politics and stuff, and it was really cool. And then on Twitter, Aaron Grubb said they were enjoying our politics and gaming episode and shared a nice Better Off Dead meme. Do y'all know what Better Off Dead is?
Yeah, the 80s movie?
Yeah, the film, yeah.
$2.
Yeah. Where the
I think I've actually watched that movie with you,
I
Rachel.
think you did too.
Yeah.
well, the French moment. Anyway,
my favorite. I always remember the scene in that movie when he's on top of the mountain and he pretends like all the snow is cocaine.
Okay, y'all do know better off dead.
Wait, you can snort nasal spray? Do you know where I can score some?
This is now a Better Off Dead podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
But we'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts on the Pikmin episode, please shoot us a line or give us a review or share the podcast with a friend. We love that. And we will talk now about the news and rumors for the week. David, you weren't here last week. Before we get into the new news, is there anything you wanted to say about the Direct Mini Partner Showcase that happened?
Yeah, you're kind of catching me off guard. I think it was a great Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's the last one for the year. I do agree with you in that I hope it's the last one ever. Hopefully that was just kind of something they were doing to hold over this crazy fucking year of video game releases. But I do think it was the best one so far. It was nice to see, I'm not a huge No More Heroes fan, but like them dropping all that information about No More Heroes 3 and then also releasing 1 and 2 right away was awesome. I got to say, I really enjoyed the demo for Control. I don't know that I'll necessarily be picking it up on there. I might get it on my Xbox whenever that comes in. More on that to come. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty great showcase all told. And I had a lot of fun with the Age of Calamity demo as well.
Nice. Nintendo dropped a little Animal Crossing November video, and I was kind of surprised by this because it doesn't really detail the Harvest Festival information, which is, as I understand it, typically what happens for, the Thanksgiving season. It was just kind of like new fish and bugs and stuff. So,
and mushrooms, Patrick, mushrooms.
Yeah, we've
lots of mushrooms.
Yeah. So, maybe we'll get another Animal Crossing video, but I have to say that I apologize to our listeners. I think it was 2 weeks ago or whatever, when I teased that I've been playing more Animal Crossing. I was going to talk about it later. I never did, but I'm kind of re-addicted to Animal Crossing right now. So,
oh, really?
Wow.
We'll talk about it.
Nice.
I will try to remember to talk about it this time at the end.
Patrick, if you want mushrooms, you can just go to Washington, D.C. or Oregon now. You don't have to play Animal Crossing.
That's true. And then there was a leak. I think there was actually some discussion about this last month too. They have a Pokemon Master Collection coming, and then there was I think it's been proven fake, right? Alleged game store listing of this Pokemon Master Collection. So maybe, do y'all think it's possible that they could release a bunch of old Pokemon games in one package for the Switch?
Yeah, I feel it's probable, but not like during Sword and Shield DLC window. Somewhere like in between a Pokemon release.
Yeah, I wonder if they would want to do this, or if they would want to if they really do some different, virtual console like thing in March or whatever, if they'll sell them separately or something. I don't know. But it's been making the rounds a couple times.
Yeah, I only saw, I'm not sure who linked to it. It might have been you, Patrick, but it was, that game retailer listing. And it said that it was Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold, and Pokemon Crystal. Ruby, right? So if that's the case, and it's just a bunch of Game Boy ROMs on a Switch cartridge,
right?
That seems super fishy to me.
Yeah.
But I also didn't see any of the reports that said it was fake. Where were you seeing that it was fake?
I think that the image is apparently, for some people, like, this has been pretty hard to track down because you search Pokemon collection and and that's not really like an easy term to search, but and also it's not being covered by a lot of the more major Nintendo news outlets, and by that they're already pretty minor and niche. So I'll drop a link in there right there that said it's fake, but I
mean, I believe it's fake.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think that it would kind of make sense. Pokemon came out originally in February '96, in Japan. So if this were to come out, say early next year, that would kind of line up with a 15, 25? How many years is that anniversary? A 25-year anniversary, I guess, of Pokemon. Fuck, I'm old. So that would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that seems like it would make a lot more sense to release digitally, kind of like what they're doing with the Fire Emblem release.
And then this Super Mario Brothers Game & Watch collector's item is going to be released this week, the 13th, I believe. And there's never any pre-orders for this. I know, or at least I don't think there have been. I know a lot of people were kind of waiting for that, and there was some speculation about why that is. And presumably it's still coming on Thursday or whatever that is.
Yeah, there have been pre-orders in the UK and in Japan, but not here in the US. It was some sort of FCC holdup or something like that was keeping it from being pre-ordered. But that is really stressing me the fuck out. I'm not gonna lie.
You trying to get one?
What? Yes, of course. I want that thing so goddamn bad. That was the thing. That was like the one thing I saw from the Mario 35th anniversary direct that I really wanted. For no reason. I've got this game whenever. I guess it's for the interactive clock segments.
Yeah,
that's really what I wanted.
Are you going to be disappointed to play that one song that's in that where like the lyrics? When it displays the lyrics are in the wrong language. Have you heard about this? Like,
yeah, but not in English. English is A-okay.
Right. So if you want to play it in German or something.
Yeah, all the lyrics are in there. You just have to like select Spanish if you want German or something like that. So I'll just send a handy graph to all my German Nintendo fans out there if they need any help.
We've already discussed this rumor some, but there's been more rumors that Crash Bandicoot 4 might be coming to Switch. So people data mining the PlayStation version of the game have found some information that suggests that. So we will see. Obviously, speculation about Smash 2 and Crash. Maybe they could time those things out. I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever happened to that like tweet that Sakurai made with the clocks on it that were apparently set to the same time as the bad guys from the new Crash game? Did you guys see that? Yeah,
I did, and I think he's just maybe referencing the game, right? Like
he knows better at this point, Patrick. He's gonna give himself a whole heap of trouble.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys play the new Crash game?
No,
not yet.
I hope it sells well, because I was kind of hearing some talk about this of like everybody wants new games like this, but if it, you know what I mean, but if it doesn't sell well, then because everybody's like, oh, they should make a new Banjo game or they should make a new Crash Bandicoot game, but I don't know anybody that's played it, so
it hasn't been selling super well. I don't think it's like a total bomb, but it I mean, at this point, like I think that they fully definitely plan to release a Switch port. They might axe it, I think, maybe if sales weren't good enough, but I think it's still pretty likely. I think that and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 are both likely to come to Switch still.
I think they both would do well on Switch, maybe better.
I haven't bought either of them on the other platforms, but I would if they were on Switch.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
There's a news report that Retro Studios is investing in a big expansion of its physical building. So that's pretty cool. We've been hearing all kinds of stories about them hiring lots of people, and now we're hearing that they may be updating or renovating their building. So big things for Retro. I don't know. Like they're obviously investing a lot of money in Metroid Prime 4 or Retro Studios. So that's pretty cool.
If you're listening to this and you're a contractor working on the expansion of the Retro Studios building, hit me up at Monolith Fiji. I have a proposition for you regarding some sensitive information.
Oh, that's great.
They've been seriously though, like they've not stopped hiring now for like 2 years, basically. When do you guys think this fucking game is coming out?
Next year.
At the very earliest.
Yeah.
Probably.
Really? You think next year?
Holiday next year.
I think we'll maybe see something by Game Awards next year. Like that might be the first time we actually see footage, but I'm not expecting this until 2023, man.
Wow.
Do you Do you think that maybe next year though we see the trilogy? Maybe.
I think, I think I might have heard this on another podcast, but I think that when we first see gameplay footage for the game and they get it all hyped up, that's when they'll be like, can't wait to play some Metroid. Go right now and shadow drop the trilogy. You know, I think that's when we'll see it. Yeah.
Just like the No More Heroes thing we were talking about. Yeah.
Listen,
exactly.
I'm just trying to use the secret method to play the new Metroid by just thinking it and willing it into existence. That will come to me.
You got to eat some of those mushrooms, and you can play all the Metroid Prime 4 you want.
And then Matthew, I'm going to need you to explain this controller. Hori's putting out a new Flex controller.
Yeah, I got
this thing looks crazy. What is it?
Yeah, it's a Hori Flex controller. It's an adaptive controller. I think this is huge. Microsoft released an adaptive controller, but it just allows more people to play games. Because if you think about a controller, it's designed for hands. But, everyone wants to play games differently. Not everyone has hands. And this allows for switch controls. So you can use different types of buttons or different types of interface to play games on the Nintendo Switch.
And this is an officially licensed one, it looks like. So that's cool that Nintendo sort of is putting out I guess it's Hori, but, is putting out this controller, because I know there's been some criticism of Nintendo not being... Well, I mean, it's mostly Xbox, right? They're the only one that have been...
They've got the adaptive controller. Yeah.
It's like official Microsoft.
This looks really nice, though. It looks like it's got all these kind of cable input bits at the bottom that you can then attach additional kind of bigger pads and dongles to. So yeah, you could see someone playing this with their chin or their arm or whatever is necessary. Yeah, it's really nice to see that. I think that you can also with some of the 8-bit DOE adapter things, use the Xbox adaptive controller with the Switch as well.
That's awesome.
But it's good that there's an official first party solution.
More options is better.
Yeah. This just makes me happy, because gaming, I know, is probably y'all can say, is brought me so much joy and so much connection with other people, and having video games be more accessible, especially through controllers and inputs, is always great to see.
I might get this just so I can fix the inverted camera in Mario Sunshine.
You can't wait till whenever that is. And then also would love to hear y'all's take on this, because I don't know a lot about this, but Take-Two is set to purchase the British video game developer Codemasters, and Codemasters makes a lot of racing games, right? And Take-Two makes a lot of games, right? So this is another large acquisition that's happening in the video game space.
Matt, you posted this one.
Do you have any thoughts about this? Yeah, what does it mean, or what?
This, for me, I posted this because this seems like such... I didn't expect this would happen. I would never guess Take-Two would buy Codemasters, who are primarily known for making the Dirt games, F1, and everyone's favorite Micro Machines World Series. I'm interested in this just because what it could mean for any kind of driving simulation in any Rockstar game.
Yeah.
And what that could be, and it can make driving, more realistic in a Grand Theft Auto.
There's now going to be lots of racing side quests in GTA 6 or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's, for a game that's always had such an emphasis on driving and getting around a very large city, the actual driving controls and physics have never been really very realistic on any of the Grand Theft Auto games, So I think even if they just bring over some of their team to help with development of a GTA 6 or whatever, which I'm sure they're far into development of at this point, that would be really awesome to get some good driving in that game, because then it would make it even more fun to just fuck around and drive around and stuff. It would be even more fun to obey the traffic laws, is what I mean.
What do you all think of this? Does this hit your radar at all by anything meaningful?
I think I think of Take-Two as being a pretty big developer, but I don't know much about like their acquisitions and if they've been acquiring other companies. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't really know much at all about Codemasters. I don't play a lot of racing sims, and when I do play racing games, that it's like arcadey Mario Kart stuff. So I don't follow that type of game.
Take-Two is the publisher, and Rockstar is the developer of Grand Theft Auto. So like a publisher, I don't know.
And they also obviously Take-Two owns like 2K, as well. So you've got all the BioShock, Borderlands, all that kind of stuff.
NBA.
Yeah, and when you think about the like sports games, maybe that makes more of a fit, right? Like there's some more overlap there, but yeah.
Yeah, either way, I've been a fan of Codemasters for a really long time. They do, I think Codemasters makes like the best racing games, in my opinion. The best like realistic kind of simulation style racing games, maybe apart from like the Gran Turismo series. But I've always been a fan of their F1 games and stuff like that. So, you know, they bought them for like almost $1 billion. It was a ton of money. So hopefully we see some fruits of that labor.
Moving on, Hades is a game that's been getting lots of buzz, and it continues to. It sounds like it won a big prize, big award over at the Indie Live Expo Awards. I haven't followed that event. David, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. The Indie Live Expo Awards is basically the big indie awards show in Japan. Hades won the grand prize at that award show. And I basically just put this on here just because it seems like this is a year that we'll see Hades, like an indie game, getting lots of lip service at the end of the year for Game of the Year. You know, it's been such a weird year, and who even knows if Cyberpunk is coming out this year, you know? So we know already Cyberpunk's not going to be in the running at the Game Awards this year. So I think it's just very likely that this might be winning. I basically put this on here to be like, this is not the end. We'll be hearing of accolades for Hades this year. You're going to be hearing it a lot.
So strap in, listeners. We're going to talk for a little bit here about the updated financial reports from Nintendo. They just put out their third quarter numbers. This is their sales through September, the end of September of this year. And I think like the TLDR, the big picture here is fucking Nintendo is making a lot of money.
Yeah.
They are selling hardware and software like crazy right now. There's a lot of things we could drill down to, and so we can spend as much or as little time on this as y'all want, but like there's a lot of numbers and figures to pour over here, and I've looked over some of them, but and read some nice summaries. There's a lot of good summaries out there.
Let's go deep, Patrick. We're a Nintendo podcast.
Let's go deep. Well, I think y'all want to talk software for a minute or hardware? What do you want to start with?
Let's go software.
So they always put out this top 10 sales list. We can start with that. That's always interesting. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to be on top with almost 29 million units sold. The new number 2 is Animal Crossing, which this is an interesting one. It's it's around 26 million sold. So, you know, pretty much every Nintendo home console, Mario Kart is the top selling game. It looks like it's possible, maybe, that Animal Crossing might take it this generation, or that's sort of one thing we could talk about. Like, Animal Crossing's just nuts.
Yeah, it's looking like it. I think especially if they release, say, a Mario Kart 9 in the next year or two, people are going to stop buying Mario Kart 8, and they won't be releasing another Animal Crossing on this console. I'm almost certain of that. So it's like, you know, it just, time will tell like what next year looks like in video games. You know, obviously Animal Crossing had that huge COVID bump, which sounds like a growth that you get as a symptom of COVID, but
or cocaine, you know, with COVID.
Kind of like adjacent to COVID pill.
Yeah, exactly. But I imagine that Animal Crossing will eventually take the top slot. I mean, it came out just earlier this year. It's already sold 26 million. That's absurd.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things here. In the top 10 sellers, this isn't true, but it's almost true that almost all top 10 sellers of Switch games are almost all over 10 million sales, which I think that alone is just nuts to think about. Like, that that many games are being sold. Like, you know, you think about a successful video game, an average game by a company, they don't sell this many copies of it. Like, it's crazy.
I actually just looked up lifetime sales of the entire Pikmin franchise, and it's like hovering around 5 million for the entire franchise.
Right.
You know, so
right. It's crazy. So there's been also a lot of reports of stuff from like this quarter, right? Like, so Super Mario 3D All-Stars is not in the top 10 sales yet, but it sold over 5 million units, and it came out was it in the middle of September? I'm trying to remember the exact date that came out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's within just a couple weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah, that's wacky. I mean, don't expect Nintendo to stop doing the limited edition stuff anytime soon.
Right. That's a huge number. And that's just through September. Paper Mario, the new Paper Mario game sold over 2.5 million, which is like, it seems not good, but it's amazing. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at all these other numbers, but that's
great for Paper
really
Mario.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ring Fit Adventure is selling super well, and I think total lifetime it's sold like over 5 million units. There's just a lot of these games are just selling super well.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some reports about their digital sales, which are continuing to rise. Yeah, it's nuts. I don't know if there's anything else y'all want to mention in particular.
Rachel, do you are you generally a physical game buyer, or do you buy games digitally?
This year I've been buying more digitally,
Mm-hmm.
but generally physical.
Yeah.
And why this year? Just because you don't have to leave the house, or?
It's been a lot of impulse shopping this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't left the house a whole lot.
That'll do it.
I think I'm kind of the same way. Like, I've been buying more games the last few months than I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do.
I think I could actually blame this podcast to the community because now I have people like in my notifications telling them when sales are happening,
Yeah.
and
That'll do
I'm a
it.
sucker for
And we get a
pressure.
15% cut of all game sales for that. Isn't that crazy?
No, but I think anecdotally that seems to be what's happening, right? Like, in a broader scope with them saying how much their digital sales are up.
Totally.
And that kind of thing. I'm sure that's true for other video game companies too.
And it's like more than ever, like throughout the COVID era, like word of mouth and social media and people sharing things online because they can't go out and drink with their friends. So they're doing that instead. It's just like everything is raising visibility, and it becomes this kind of exponential growth when there are more systems out there. That's more mouths to be wording. You know what I mean? I could have said that better, but it's just, I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. I don't think that the new next gen consoles that are coming out this week, I don't think that's going to really take a bite out of the growth of the Switch right now. Yeah, it's fucking wacky.
So I don't believe that we yet have the English translation. Well, actually, before we get into that, we should talk about hardware numbers. The Switch has now passed the original NES total sales numbers, which was the next big milestone. So the Switch is sold as of September, so probably sold a lot more than that, but 68 million units, over 68 million units. So
Looks like 3DS is next.
Yeah, like depending on if you want to tackle handhelds or home consoles, right? Yeah, it'd be 3DS would be the next one. Otherwise, we're looking at the Wii. But it from all the charts that people have put together that I've seen, like Daniel Ahmad, great analyst to follow if you're into this kind of stuff. He's put together, or maybe he's just borrowed some charts where you see comparison of console sales, over time, and the Switch is right there with some of the best with the Wii and stuff. And it also matters kind of, when they launch. So this one has had one less holiday season than some of the other ones and that kind of stuff. And we'll get into this. Maybe we could even talk about it now. This Black Friday deal. I think the Switch is set to sell super great over Christmas.
Yeah. Before we move on, I think when looking at these pie charts, which I love looking at, I think when I look at something like console hardware sales are 50% of Nintendo's business.
Yeah.
Like all of my memories are associated with Nintendo games, but the profit margins for Nintendo to sell consoles is just astronomical. They just make more money that way.
And I just finish your thought, yeah.
wonder how like Microsoft, at least this console push in this month, November 2020, and Sony, they're not making this profit margin on.
They have to be losing money every console they're selling.
Exactly. So Nintendo's just making bank because they're selling older tech that's utilized more by software developers. That always blows my mind to be reminded that Nintendo's like more of a hardware company than a software company.
They're about to make millions off a fucking Game & Watch. Okay, they're comfortable. They're comfortable selling old tech.
100%.
Yeah.
This other part of their net revenue was their like services, their Nintendo Online and add-on content, which is just about like, half a billion dollars, which is, still a lot of money, but more than I expected. Just because like we always talk about Nintendo Switch Online, but I just never hear people like really wanting it or spending money on it quite a bit.
They're doing lots of bundles with it now, right? It like comes with a lot of stuff, which is a good way to sucker people into paying a subscription fee. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I forget about it because I'm in a family plan, so I pay like $4 a year.
Yeah, me too.
And forget about it.
Yeah, it's so cheap. If there was any kind of financial segment or business segment of Nintendo that's growing, I definitely think it's this service, Nintendo Online post-March.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with it. They did ending in the March 2021 fiscal year, ending March 21. They have raised their forecast to 24 million switches to be sold by that time. That's including everything they're expecting to sell over this holiday break. So we'll see if they actually hit that, but I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and if you invest in Nintendo, their stocks are up. I mean, their profits are up. Their stock prices are up. Everything's looking good for Nintendo right now. They're on top, and I think there's so much here we could talk about, but like kind of moving on. This Black Friday deal, I think, because this kind of ties in, right? And I think that they've got this deal, which they've announced, which is not that amazing, but it's going to bring in new people, right? It's a Switch with Mario Kart for the regular price plus 3 months of the online. And then they've also got a sale going on, a handful of the first-party titles like Luigi's Mansion 3 and Zelda Link's Awakening and Mario Maker 2, where they're all on sale for I think it's $40.
That's right.
So this is the new era of Nintendo. They never used to do sales like this, but now they Sony deals on Black Friday are always like, yeah, you get games for like $15-20. Right. Like Nintendo just takes $20 off, and this is the equivalent for them. Like this is a big deal for them.
That's true.
Yeah, it's usually only whenever they do like the player's choice or whatever thing at the very end that they do that. But it's nice to see them on sale.
And maybe this gets us to one of the next big talking points, which is the next gen launch. Maybe we should talk about that next, because I think that we're seeing all these kinds of reports of it, there's sparse availability of these, and a lot of people's pre-orders are getting pushed back. So I think a lot of people are going to end up buying a Switch. They're going to head to the store or look online, and I'm sure a lot of kids want a Switch anyway with it being this hot, and a lot of people want it. But yeah, I had to go in. I haven't been in a lot of stores lately, but I had to go into a Target the other day to get something last minute. And I just had to walk over to the video game section because I was in there, and I overheard like two people just randomly being like, "Oh yeah, I want to get a Switch." Like just totally anecdotal evidence, but it felt like just as people were walking by, they were talking about it, which is an unusual thing even a year or two ago, I feel like.
Patrick, did you hand him our Super Switch Headz business card?
I had a mask on and was trying to social distance, Matthew.
That's why you have to take the card and flick it real fast at their face. From a distance.
Always be networking.
But yeah, what do y'all think about that? Or what do you think about, let's talk about the next gen stuff going on, right? Like today. The
Yeah,
Xbox
Matt,
came out.
did you get your Series X in today, Matt?
I got my Series X. I booted it up. I transferred my data. Then I turned it off.
You're like, I just like how it looks on my shelf.
Yeah. There's two things that are interesting. One, the boot sequence, incredible. It's got some really good bass to it. The second thing is that the OS looks the same.
Really?
Right. So, like, I'm expecting this new OS with every console revision, whether it be Nintendo or Sony, anything. But it's the same OS. It looks the same. And because I transferred my data, it looks like
all your same games,
same colors. It's the same. So,
well, it's like it is a lot like snappier, right? Like I from what I understand, it's like the same as the Xbox One X, but like twice as fast, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is probably worth it to just keep stuff the same. And I'm sure they'll update it over time. I think the Xbox One's dashboard changed over the years as well since it launched.
Yeah, me and my Halo friends booted up to play one game of Halo 5 right before we recording this podcast. But that's a 5-year game. That's a 5-year-old game.
Then there's no updates for that game, right? Like it doesn't look any better or anything.
No, of course not. I bought a new console to play an old-ass game.
Apparently they are doing some Master Chief Collection patches, like 120 frame per second patches potentially. Either way, I have not gotten my Series S in. I ordered it. I just got a notification from Target that it's shipped, but it's saying it will likely not come in until Monday, unfortunately. So I still got a little bit of ways to wait. So I'm trying not to look at the internet for fears of FOMO, but I am excited to get that Series S. And they added EA Play to Game Pass today, so that's like an additional 85 games or something like that are there waiting for you day one. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and they added this is, I guess, a Microsoft podcast now. 30 days of Disney Plus as a perk.
Yeah.
That's enough.
I like Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's enough to watch The Mandalorian.
Well, yeah, but don't redeem it though until
all the episodes
are out. Yeah, because it is a weekly show. I know people right when Disney Plus came out were like, oh fuck, I thought I could cancel it. I only got to see 3 episodes. But Mandalorian, quick side step, pretty good this season.
I'm loving it. Yeah,
pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I love it.
It's great television.
Yeah. It was funny. I was watching it with my wife. Now we're going to talk about The Mandalorian. Okay.
This is a Mandalorian podcast.
And
Super Disney Plus heads.
And like, I guess this isn't really spoilers, but minor spoilers, right? Like, so she fell asleep during one, which is funny, but we were watching it pretty late. And then she's like, what happened? And I was like, well, nothing. But it was amazing. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but I loved it.
It's like
Baby Yoda committed genocide against an entire species of alien.
Anyway, okay, we should move on.
Probably. Did anyone here pre-order a PlayStation 5? That should be coming out the day after this podcast comes out.
No.
Yeah,
not me.
We're just gonna roll the dice and see if we can find one.
Yeah.
But we did not get a pre-order.
Right. Yeah, it's always been my plan to eventually get the PS5, but it's like I pre-ordered this Xbox because I just skipped the last Microsoft console generation, right? So I was like, I feel like I've got a lot of catching up to do, and it's all backwards compatible. So that it seems like a good cheap option to have for Game Pass and for back compat games. But it's like I've all the stuff that I want that is coming out to PS5 is also coming out to PS4, and I have that. So it's, you know, we'll see. I'm thinking probably like next winter I'll pick up a PS5 or something like that, or once the games come out that I really want.
Can you call my husband, explain that to him? Because I've been trying to tell him why we don't need to get one this week.
Well, to that point, I was just about to say it's kind of a weird console launch because there's just doesn't feel like outside of the like it's exciting, there's a whole lot of reasons to do it, right? Like,
yeah,
at least right away.
I think it would have behooved both of them to wait until March for both of these consoles.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, more power to them. They got it out. They're going to sell all of their stock. So it's like, so that's pie on my face, right? It doesn't really matter, but it's like, this will probably go down as one of the worst launch lineups for a console generation of all time. You know, like we've got Tetris Effect connected, which does excite me, but it's like,
Right.
if Halo had been there, like a new Halo, that would have been really big. But yeah, either way, I'm looking forward to it whenever it eventually comes in.
All right, we're going along here maybe, but real quickly, Smash 9.0.2 is coming up, so make sure you save your videos, your match reviews, whatever you call them. Replays, that's the word I'm looking for. I always forget to do this, and then I lose them because they make that extra step where you have to export them.
And quick tiny David rant. I hate the replay function in Ultimate because it always gets killed, and you can't just screenshot 30 seconds. All I ever want is a small clip of a match. Totally. I never want the full match. Totally. I just really wish that they could figure that out.
I agree.
I don't think they ever will.
And also there are other video games where you can save your replay and then it remembers the previous versions. You know what I mean? Like Code where it can run it again or whatever. Like it just seems it's minor rant. Okay, moving on.
It's dumb.
Yeah. It's very dumb. And then
hold on. How else would we be able to have 16 ice climbers on screen at the same time? Okay. If there's one frame drop when there are 16 ice climbers on screen, then it's not worth it, Patrick. You have to understand this.
So, just to take us into our main topic of Pikmin, we have the Japanese Famitsu sales charts for the week in Japan. Physical video games, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe is on top. Sold 170,000 units, which obviously doesn't seem that striking after hearing all those million sellers, but is better than the Wii U for that region. Mm-hmm. However, as somebody else pointed out, I think they did worse in other places, right?
Unfortunately, in the UK, the Wii U version of Pikmin 3 actually outsold the Switch's opening week.
But that's physical too, is the thing to remember.
That's only counting physical, and that could very well be different. There are new lockdown laws in effect in the UK whenever this came out, I believe. So it's it's hard to say exactly, and I wouldn't say it's like a bust right now or a bomb or anything like that. But maybe at some point during our Pikmin discussion, we can talk about if now is the best time to release Pikmin 3.
Yeah. So it's iffy if it sounds like it's selling better than maybe Pikmin 3 did overall in the world, but we don't know yet. We'll find out probably at some point, but we don't know. Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll take a real quick break, and then we'll really dig into the Pikmin series and in particular Pikmin 3 Deluxe and let you know how we feel about it. So when we come back. So this week we're talking all about Pikmin and a little bit about the history and all the Pikmin games and a lot about Pikmin 3 Deluxe. With it having just come out. Obviously, we're a little bit late to this because we took last week off, as I expect many people did because of the election, which it did. Somebody want to, well, maybe we'll wait to talk about the timing of this game coming out. I don't know. Whenever y'all want to jump on that, maybe we'll start with
let's do it now. Let's do it now.
Yeah, because we're not talking about it in a timely fashion because of the election. Mm-hmm. And that's what y'all were talking about, right? When we were kind of chatting about this, that this game came out at a bad time. Is that what you meant?
I think so. I think both Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Call Me Brother came out at a really bad time. But it's like you were saying, Matt, it's like, and we'll talk about this in the games we've been playing this week, but it's like, with the trip that I took recently and just with all of my time being focused on the news and refreshing CNN and Reddit and shit, I don't think a ton of people, and the calm before the next gen storm, right? Everybody's kind of waiting for these next gen systems to come out. It definitely doesn't seem like last week was the week to be playing a bunch of games. Yeah. Unless you play your Switch in handheld mode with CNN on it.
I wish I had picked this up when it came out, because of the way last week went, because I spent a lot of time just muting my phone and going to bed early, and I'm I could have spent all this time playing Pikmin. That would have been great. Yeah. Now that I picked it up, I'm oh yeah, this would have been perfect last week, actually.
Yeah, and it probably, I think they were probably thinking of it as it's a very relaxing game for a lot of people. It's very chill. it's like kind of probably a good time to release it in that way. But I do kind of wish that they'd put this out like more towards the middle of October than towards the end.
I wish they'd put it out earlier in the year when there was that huge dry spell feeling, but that's me.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't quite ready for that.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know.
I think it seems like it would be, right? Because it's just this game, and maybe we'll get into this when we talk about what's new to this one, but there is a lot of new stuff. So yeah, you're probably
there is. Yeah. I think it also wasn't great timing just because the game came out and then like, I think the day after or a couple days later, they had their big indie showcase, or they had their direct mini, which got a bunch of people hyped up on the demo for Age of Calamity.
Right.
You know, so it's like I think a lot of people that probably would have picked it up then maybe started playing Age of Calamity, and they're like, "Oh, I'll spend my $60 on that instead of Pikmin 3." So I don't know. It's kind of a queer time to release the game, but regardless, I mean, it's very fun. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's a great game.
No, it is. I really love it.
I've been trying to think of like an equivalent road trip snack to compare Pikmin to. And like maybe it's something, I don't know, like
I got it. If you don't,
I've got it. I think I've got it too. What do you have?
I was going to say like kale crisps or something.
I was going to say dried fruit.
Well, yeah, like
something healthy-ish.
Yeah, trail mix.
yeah, definitely.
It's like
Pikmin is trail mix.
Well, if someone hands it to you, you'll be like, "Yeah, I'll have some trail mix." And I might get it on a road trip. But I'm not going to go out of my way for it. But I know plenty of people who love trail mix.
Yeah.
And they like bring it in their, people who I work with who would bring it in their packed lunches.
Now, Age of Calamity is the Roswell McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
You go out of your way to stop there.
Yeah. Jokes aside, I think Pikmin is a beloved franchise, but it's such a niche title that unless it comes out at a perfect time when there's not Age of Calamity and there's not Animal Crossing and there's not the Mario 3D All-Stars collection, it gets overshadowed by these bigger things.
Definitely.
Much like trail mix.
Well, let's talk about that history of the game then, because I've never played a Pikmin game before, in part because of the platforms it came out on and the timing. The first Pikmin game came out in 2001. It was for the GameCube. I've never played it. Rachel, have you are here in part because you've got some experience with the old Pikmin games, right?
Yeah, so I didn't have a GameCube, but I played the first two when they brought them back out on the Wii under that like new play control thing. Right. I think like what else did they do that with? Like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and maybe like one of the Metroid Prime games. So not that long ago they did that. So that's my experience with the game.
Totally. Yeah. So Pikmin 1 came out in 2001 for the GameCube. Pikmin 2 came out in 2004 for the GameCube. But you're right; they both came out for the Virtual Console on the Wii and the Wii U, right?
Right. Yeah, for the Wii. And I think originally Pikmin 2 for the Wii only was in the UK. But then they eventually released them like digitally for you to be able to buy in the US, I believe.
I think like 2011 or 2012. It was not that long ago.
Yeah. I played the first Pikmin very briefly. Actually, Rachel, you know this guy I'm about to talk about. Andrew Ryder, I think, had a copy of the game, if I'm not mistaken, because basically there was like there was a trophy in Super Smash Brothers Melee that you could only get if you had Pikmin save data on your console. So I think it was Andrew. It might have been somebody else, but I borrowed somebody's game.
It was Andrew.
Yeah. just to get that trophy in Smash. But then I really enjoyed it. But I never put that much time into it because I was just borrowing the game, and it wasn't until the Wii versions, which I actually really liked the Wii controls for the game. I thought it worked really, really well.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that the first two games came out within a couple of years of each other on the GameCube, and then they took almost a decade to come out with a third one for the Wii U, which y'all, David and Matthew, y'all played that on the Wii U, right? Is that correct?
Played on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. There was like a brief time where you could use like Nintendo like Club Nintendo Platinum points to actually get a game. And the game that I got was Pikmin 3.
Nice. And then 4 years later, they put out a 3DS game called Hey Pikmin, which I understand is an okay game, but a lot of Pikmin fans are disappointed because it's just a side scroller kind of platforming. It's not the same gameplay exactly, and it's just kind of a okay mediocre game, right?
Rachel, I know I'm potentially reaching here, but did you play Hey Pikmin?
I think I maybe demoed it,
right.
but I never purchased it.
Yeah.
It didn't speak to me because I had history with the other games.
It's missing a lot of elements. I'm kind of curious.
It reminds me of like the Super Princess Peach games for like the DS. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's kind of like Mario, but then a lot different, and it's like, this is kind of like Pikmin, but very, very different. Right. Or like something like a Triforce Heroes or a Metroid Federation Force or something like this. This felt like when Nintendo was just like, oh, we can put the name of a franchise that people know on the thing and people will buy it. And that just ended up not being the case.
It's especially funny for like Matthew called it, like a niche series to do a spin-off of it like that. But I will admit,
they did that with a lot with 3DS though. Like, what was it? Elements? Do you guys remember that one on the Wii?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a great game. And then they did like sort of an adjacent title for the 3DS that just like, it wasn't the same.
Yeah, I maybe one day I'll try out. They need a port Hey Pikmin to Switch.
Well, it's funny. Like I went and read some reviews of it in anticipation of this episode because I was like, I've just basically heard it panned, but the reviews were all like, it's an okay game. You know what I mean? But like, it's not. It kind of like some of the things translate and some of the things don't, and it's short. But maybe that's a good thing because
I think I have it on an R4 card somewhere.
But I have to admit to y'all that after playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I'm super into Pikmin now. Like I really like this game, and I hope that whatever rumors of a virtual console or GameCube games coming or whatever is true, and I can play through these on the Switch at some point. So
yeah, if you ever want to borrow my Wii U and play Pikmin 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it. Like I want to play through these games now. And to that point, maybe we can talk kind of about just the Pikmin series story because I think Rachel, you jump in and correct me, or you take the lead here. But like the first story is Olimar, who is a Hokotation, like that's the planet he's from, Hokotate. Crash lands on this planet, right?
Yeah, he's on vacation and he crash lands, and the whole premise is that they never say what the planet is, but like it's Earth.
Yeah.
And the whole premise is that he finds these Pikmin and they form sort of this symbiotic relationship because they kind of can't do anything unless they're being told what to do. And he's like, perfect, I can do that. And you get 30 days to collect the parts of his ship, right? So he can go home. And there's no, like, that's different from Pikmin 3 or Pikmin 2. Like, you only get those 30 days. So I think there were, like, 3 alternate endings, depending on how well you did at the end of those 30 days. It's extremely stressful.
And I think it's interesting because I think for me, having played Pikmin 3, that story feels different than what I understand Pikmin 2 and 3's story to be, where on 2, correct me again if I'm wrong, but he is being forced due to the company's debt to go back to this planet and make money, essentially, because the things are valuable there. And I feel like they really kind of started to hit on their themes for these games around that time, like because Pikmin 3 also deals with this sort of, I don't know. Maybe we'll jump ahead a little bit here from what I had on the notes here. It talks about themes because I think what struck me about Pikmin 3 is the themes, really, of like nature and consumption and like resources and conservation and that sort of thing in terms of both gameplay and story. Because in 2 and 3, right, like you're trying to get resources to bring back to your home planet because of dead or overconsumption or what have you, right? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, and you were talking earlier, Rachel, about how it's like, they don't say it's Earth, but it's Earth,
Mhm.
like kind of on all these games, right? And it's like, and it always seems like it's a similar theme to like the kind of background story of the Splatoon games, where it's like
Post-apocalyptic
it's Earth,
yeah.
but it's kind of post-apocalyptic. Like we've, the nature has taken over after we've destroyed ourselves because of, bad, pollution habits and whatnot. Yeah. And that's something that's always spoken to me about the franchise, is that it's like kind of a return to nature, which you see in a lot of Nintendo games as well, including the Donkey Kong Country games, I think.
And maybe we can come back to this at the end, but I think the Pikmin 3, the themes really resonate because you have this sort of overconsumption issue that the Kopaiites are coming for, but we'll get into that maybe here in a minute.
Dude, I'm loving Patrick being like the lore master of this
I really
episode.
am. Like I've spent because gosh, I'm kind of jumping all over the place and I apologize for this.
It's okay.
But like last week in the middle of recording our special episode, Matthew and I, like my wife, which is very unusual, she interrupted us recording and said, "Hey, can you come in for just 5 minutes? Because I'm trying to get our kid to bed." And my son was inconsolable about Pikmin 3, about how we had beaten the game and it was over, and he was worried about the Pikmin. and like, what are the Pikmin going to do without the Kopaiites? And like I don't know. So I've been studying up on this. We've gotten into it over here. Yeah.
It's like Tolkien. you learned the Elvish of this game.
That's a good point. I mean, they finish their missions and they leave the Pikmin. Like that was sort of like a defining point of the first
the Pikmin need help.
Was like they can't really function without someone telling them what to do.
And my kid picked up on that without us talking about it. Like
right.
Because like I've never played Pikmin 1. I didn't even know that until after we had already beaten the game and I went and spent a little time looking up some stuff. But he was like, "What are the Pikmin going to do? They look sad in the ending credits." You know what I mean? But to help him, there is this sort of extra mode where Olimar comes back again. Something also that this made me think about is that like this isn't very common in Nintendo series, where all these Pikmin 1 through 3, and I don't know about Hey Pikmin, all fit into like a timeline where they aren't, are one part of one story instead of a reset or whatever, like a lot of Nintendo games are.
And like the bonus modes in this, like you play, or like the side stories you play as Olimar, right? And it kind of fits into the timeline, which I think
exactly,
is cool.
Yeah.
A new addition for this version of the game.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should just talk about Pikmin 3 Deluxe, unless there's any other bigger picture Pikmin stuff y'all want to talk about.
No, I was going to say one thing about like I can't find the direct quote from Miyamoto, who was the main, director of this game of all, if not, most, if not all Pikmin games. But he was inspired by just like watching ants work together in his backyard carrying a leaf. And the quote goes on to say, something along the lines of, "Why aren't there more team-based games where you're not fighting anyone, you're not competing with anyone, but you're all working together to a shared goal?" And so as Patrick, as you were talking about like Magnus having this big, strong reaction to the story, is like maybe he really connected to this idea of like, I'm meeting this other creature and we're working together to like this common goal. And that doesn't happen in a lot. And so when I remember playing this game and like meeting some of the Pikmin for the first time, I'm just like, yeah, this is super fun.
Totally. Yeah. And I was actually going to kind of talk about that because that's like kind of what has been known as the origins of the game, but it's also been disputed some. Like, I think that that definitely plays a lot into it. But there's also a lot of talk about how this game originally started as Super Mario 128, right? Like, so like there was back at that E3, whenever the GameCube was first coming out, there was that tech demo of Super Mario 128, which was going to be like the sequel to Super Mario 64, and it had kind of a big area with tons of Marios all on the screen at once. And I think basically they tried to make that game a reality. Like, I think there are 5 different versions of whatever Super Mario 128 was supposed to be, or a sequel to Super Mario 64. But I think eventually what it morphed into was this like, oh, you've got 100 Pikmin on screen at once, right? And it's like basically using the power. It was like a good tech demo of like, look how many characters we can put on screen at the same time using this new technology, right? And then it's just over time, I think even this was a game that he really wanted to get on the Wii U, Miyamoto, because he thought that this would be a game that would work really well with an HD console, right? Because you've got so many little characters, you can actually like see all the detail and all the small characters with a higher definition, right? So Pikmin, for better or for worse, like it's never been the biggest system seller, but it's clearly like a passion project of Miyamoto, right? And it's like something that he loves, and it's something that he likes to use as kind of a way to showcase like new hardware features of whatever console that they're working on.
That's great transition for us to talk about the differences of this too.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to add though, Matt?
Also some history stuff, like Pikmin was originally called, I found this interview on Nintendo Power interview that says it's originally called Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a god game. And so it went from there, from Mario 28, as David said.
Mm-hmm. It was a game all about buying sex toys on podcasts.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think like David said, like using the controls and or like the technology that you have, like the Wii U version of this game, one of the big differences and one of the criticisms I've heard from people that have played both is that the controls on the Switch don't feel as good. Because you don't have the gamepad, which I haven't played, so I don't know, exactly how that, worked, where you were using that and the Wii remote and or Wiimote and stuff like that. But obviously we don't have a gamepad, so you push the minus button to go to the map and send people with that in the Switch version, and I guess that's a little clunkier.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that if you never knew that it used it, like, I think that Pikmin 3 would be completely fine. Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Switch would be completely fine switching to the menu, right? But it's like, just like any game that originally started as a Wii U exclusive and then got ported to the Switch, like, say, Captain Toad, it was a big one. It just was so smooth, right? To play it on the Wii U. And not only did you have the great like above head map, which was relegated to that, and you could actually like use the Wii U gamepad to control your characters. You could just like press on the screen to have your character just move to a node or whatever, right? Like, and it made kind of this the RTS real-time strategy elements of the game felt a lot more RTS-y on the Wii U, because you were doing everything from this top-down perspective, right? Now, does it mean you shouldn't pick up Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Switch because that feature isn't in there? No, of course not.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like this was a way to show off what you can really do with the gamepad, other than just being an inventory screen, which is, what most things ended up being, right? But then something else I liked about the Wii U version is you could use the Wii controls. Like if you played the Wii, the new control versions of the game, you could just plug in a Wiimote and a nunchuck and play that way as well. So it was very versatile and probably deserved a better shake than it actually got.
I think I remember on the Wii U doing both. Like you had the gamepad in your lap,
right?
Yeah,
while using the nunchuck and the Wiimote.
Yeah.
To move through it. And like that was clunky to begin with because there's a learning curve there required. But then once you got used to it, it was great. But 7 years later playing it this way, I don't
it's
really
fine.
Like I really like Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
Nice.
Me too.
Well,
me
I was
too.
just reading one like criticism of the game that's exactly what you just said, Rachel, which was that they liked the what you were talking about, where they had the gamepad and the Wiimote and the nunchuck, and that took getting used to, but they loved it, and it felt like something was missing here. But I'm glad to hear you say that's not true. And as somebody who didn't play it that way, I don't know what I'm missing. So,
right.
I think part of the reason why it doesn't bother me is because I've been playing 3D All Stars and Mario Galaxy, and that really depended. Like, there's something missing. Like, even though that's using motion controls, something's missing when you don't actually have the sensor bar, like,
Right,
it's
right.
just not the same. So, and that's been really frustrating. So, like, the fact that they're not even trying to do that with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, after the frustration I've been feeling with Mario Galaxy, has been kind of nice, honestly.
That makes sense.
I will say, I think that Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is literally unplayable since I can't blow into my Switch in order to get platforms to move.
Another game where I don't know what I'm missing.
Yeah.
But so I will admit, I have done almost everything in this game already, and that would
Awesome.
be maybe my one criticism of this game.
Yeah.
Or one of my criticisms of this game, which we'll get to in a minute. So, like, we can talk about all these modes that they have in this game, and I thought maybe that's the next thing we do.
Sure.
The story mode is obviously the main meat of the game, where this story plays out, and then they have these side missions where you play as Olimar, which go along with what's happening during the story mode. And then they have a sort of post-game Olimar missions where Olimar comes back. I guess this would be the fourth time he comes back to this planet. And then they have the versus mode, the bingo battle, as it's called, which my son and I had a lot of fun playing through. And he did surprisingly well at, and was beating me, because he was like paying really close attention to the bingo map and like finding the easiest thing. He was like, that's the easiest one, I'm gonna do that. And he didn't tell me that until after he was beating me 3 times in a row. I'm like, how? At first I was letting him, and then I was like, what is going on? And then he discovered that
You're like, motherfucker, you're 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get to beat me.
Exactly. At first I was letting him, and then I was like, what is going on? He's like, I'm just going for the easiest strip. And I'm like, oh, that's probably a good strategy. And then he discovered that you can hurt the other person. Like, you can get cherries, and that gives you a random chance to do some damage to the other person. And then he became obsessed with that, and I started kicking his butt because he didn't care about winning anymore. He just wanted to fuck with me.
Yeah.
And this is bingo
battle. Yeah, it's like,
what is that?
it's the
I just picked up the game.
I think it's in the original, but I'm not sure. It's a versus mode. It's a like 2-player against each other mode. And it's funny, like, do y'all remember the game Lemmings? Or there's a few of them. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of that in some ways. Like
the whole Pikmin franchise reminds me of Lemmings.
That's true, actually. Yeah, maybe that's why I think of it. But like the versus mode, so like I think the Super Nintendo version of Lemmings, I had it on PC and Super Nintendo, but I think the Super Nintendo only had a versus mode, and I could never get anybody to play it with me because who comes over to your house and like they've never played Lemmings before, and then you just kick their ass. Like, but it reminds me of that because it's like you're working on your own goal, but you can also just go and sabotage the other person. So it feels very much like that. I don't know. So like, yeah, you each have your own goals, and then
it's like tasks,
and then it's like you have your own little bingo card, and if you get this fruit and then kill this enemy and do this, you'll get a bingo and win. But you can also just fuck with the other person. It's really cool. There's like 10 maps. It's a lot. Like, it's maybe I wish they had taken some of that effort and put it into some other parts of the game almost, because there's a lot of maps and a lot of cool stuff, and it's unique to that mode.
And they'll kind of change up like stuff from the story mode, right? For these like side missions and for the bingo stuff, where it's like everything will be frozen over, or there'll be new ramps or whatever in parts that you couldn't get to before. So it always keeps it like feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah, the bingo battles are whole new maps. Like they have they have nothing to do. That's why I'm like, they put a lot of effort into this versus mode.
Right.
But you're right. There's the mission mode or whatever it's called exactly.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Where you have these sort of extra missions you can do. And those are like what you were just describing, where they kind of did a slight variation on the map. Like there's no water now or whatever, like you just said, where then you have your own little or a new mission to do with that. And we've been doing a lot of those and having fun with those too.
Cool. Have you tried the extra spicy mode, Pat?
No, I think that's next though, because my kid and I have been talking about playing it more, and we're just like, let's step up the difficulty, try the next difficulty, which may not be extra spicy. I don't know if there's a, easy, normal, or whatever.
Well, it's like normal is easy, hard is normal, and extra spicy is hard.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna replay it because that would be my biggest criticism of the game, is that the story mode, we beat it pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, right? Is that I feel like not just with Pikmin 3, but like all the way back to Pikmin 1. And Rachel, you brought this up a little bit too, with how it kind of takes place over 30 days. I think the games have always been about replaying multiple times to get a high score, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something that is like not, it almost feels like a relic of video games past, high scores, right? Like we view games as like the story mode is the story mode, but you know, games, it almost reminds me of like the Resident Evil games in that way. Like those games you can play pretty quick, but at the end it tells you how fast you beat the game. It tells you what your high score is. And then they're like, hey, now do it again as Jill instead of, you know, whatever. Yeah. Right. And so it, like Pikmin 3 really feels like that to me, especially with all the different variations of the different captains that you can have throughout it. I feel like there's a lot of different ways to play through the game, and it kind of rewards you for playing it in different ways and trying to kind of optimize your strategy. Yeah. It's a very interesting, like, and cool, I think, take on an RTS. You know, I've never been a big real-time strategy guy because I find the resource management to be just kind of mind-numbing when you're going through menus and all this kind of stuff. But like in Pikmin, it's like there aren't really a ton of menus. It's like everything that you need to manage is just out in front of you in a 3-dimensional space, and it just has this great blend of like platforming and RTS that I think lends itself to replayability.
That's true.
Well, and you just reminded me, David, and I can't remember, was it Pikmin 2 they introduced like just replaying specific days?
I think so.
Does that sound familiar? Yeah. You didn't have to start over, but you like, you want to redo day 5? You want to do, redo day 13? For that express purpose to like, hey, see if you can do better.
Yeah,
totally.
Maybe this is the game that starts Magnus on a speedrunning career.
Well, no, I do think that like I agree that it feels like a relic of the past. The replaying to get a better time or score or whatever, but this game, it kind of works, you know, like,
yeah,
I still think it would be better if they leaned into maybe adding more meat to the story mode than more replayability, because I do think that is a relic of the past, and I don't, but he and I have been talking about replaying the story mode real soon because, you know, let's not knock it up a notch and try to do some of the things we didn't do and so on and so forth. Yeah.
I think it's just like Miyamoto's MO. I think he loves high scores, you know, like Star Fox is another series that is very much like that, right? It's like you can sit down and beat a Star Fox game in an hour, but that's, you know, it's not like you play it once for an hour and you're done, right? Like that game is all about like, let me try to get all the medals. Let me try to get all
unlock the next, the other path or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's bad. I really do. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a niche for everybody and some games should be like that, but I don't think it's a good way for Nintendo to go. And I hope, you know what I mean? Like, that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, Miyamoto's not directing too many games anymore, so he'll die one day, Patrick, and you'll finally be happy. So sorry, Shiggy. I did not.
I really don't mean that either. But one of the big things they added to this game was co-op in story mode, and that's what made this game so enjoyable for me. As me and my kid played through it.
Same.
Like, it's so much fun to play in co-op, and I know that if you play this single player, you would be like directing your other characters to go to different places. But we didn't really have to do that because there were 2 of us playing it, and so maybe that's like almost a different way to play these games.
What are the controller options for co-op?
You each control one of the 3 characters, and
you can use pro controllers. Or
you can totally whatever.
All of it.
We used pro controllers.
That's so surprising. I'm very impressed.
That's really cool.
We both used pro controllers, so no problems there. But I didn't. Partly, I think this is really funny. Let's give a quick shout out to DCD. He was talking about how this is such a relaxing game, and you said that too, David, at the beginning. Like, this has not been a relaxing experience for me and my kid. We're yelling at each other half the time, like, "Get over here!" and "I need the red Pikmin," or whatever. Like,
it does kind of turn into like an Overcooked-esque kind of game. Like,
yes, it does,
because that's all about resource management too. And it's like when you're playing with somebody on a couch, it's like, it's a lot of screaming over each other to try to get the thing that you need.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I think that like this deluxe version adds so much more than a lot of other like deluxe versions that they've done, you know, like, and that's why I think that probably took a lot of time to like get the right balance for what you can do in the co-op mode, because it just makes it an entirely different experience. You know, when you're playing by yourself, you know, and you're switching between characters, it's like you've got the whole area and you can do things at your own pace. But it's like, you know, I haven't played nearly as much as you have, Patrick. But it's like I want to play through this game with Sasha, right? And she's into it as well. We both have been having a lot of fun. We played the demo through, and now we're going to be playing the full game. But it just makes it a totally different game, and it's like this really fun, engaging experience when we're both trying to like kind of actively figure out like both the puzzles and then the real time like kind of, oh shit, now we got to throw the dudes at with the right timing and with the lock on and everything, you know. And so I think it's such a great addition to Deluxe.
And that also makes me think about the like side missions and the post game Olimar missions. I wouldn't say that they're hard, but I would say that they're harder than the story mode. And especially playing it 2-player with a kid, like there were many times where we failed because like they're a lot harder than the story mode. Like in story mode, you can take several days to beat an area, right? Like if you don't do it, you have another day. And I don't know if there's a cap in this game because I didn't hit it. If there
just got to get that juice.
Yeah, you just got to have to survive. Right. But in the like side missions and the post game missions, if you don't meet the goal, you lose and you just have to start over. And a lot of times you start off with just like 3 or 5 Pikmin. And so if you aren't super judicious in how you use them and they get eaten, you're kind of just fucked. And so like there was even more like yelling at each other and being like, no, we only have 5 yellow Pikmin. And you know, like we got to restart this day. I'm like, I'm doing okay over here. We're not restarting. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So the side stuff and all the stuff they added is really great. I really enjoyed it. And I think playing it co-op is a lot of fun.
It makes me excited for the Mario 3D World.
Yes.
Bowser's Fury. Because if they put this much effort into additional content for Pikmin 3, you have to think how much effort they're going to be putting into additional content for like a 3D Mario game, you know, that most people haven't played. And it's a really great game. And I just really hope that we see more breadth of content like this versus like a funky mode or something. No offense to retro, but
no, I think you could
do better.
You're in for it with the way they've titled the game, at least. You know?
Yeah.
Well, Matthew.
Just I know our listeners can't see this, but I want to let you know how happy Patrick's face is when he talks about Pikmin.
I've fallen in love with this series. Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, I'm.
That's the wholesome part of our show.
It's been really great. I really like this game. I do caution people though that it is short, and like my Switch says I've played it for 15 hours or more. So I've gotten 50, and I got some time out of the demo too. So you add a couple hours there, but like I've done almost everything in the game at least once, and I'm at less than 20 hours. So yeah, even with all the extra stuff, I'm like, you might want to wait for it on sale if you're not super jazzed on it, but it is a lot of fun, and it's
or pick it up on the Wii U.
If you
they added it back.
When they added it back, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more we can talk about, but I feel like I've said my piece. I mean, we can talk about the art or the music or anything like that we've talked, that we didn't really cover. It's got good music, and I love the character designs, and
it's a beautiful game, orally and visually, right? Like I think the game has, and that's, I think, where a lot of the chill out comes from. I think the music
and the water ripples.
The water looks amazing. It's all got this, it's not exactly like as tilt shifty as say like Wonderful 101 or something like that, but it's like, it's got, everything feels miniature and cute. Right. And it's like, it's a very cozy game, regardless of whether or not it's like a chill
whether
game,
you're yelling
right?
at your partner.
Yeah, you can get into arguments in a cozy little bungalow. Coziness does not equate chillness.
And murder bugs. Yeah. Because also like we're like kill that guy, and my wife's like, what is going on in there? Yeah.
Any takeaways from you, Rachel, on kind of the visuals, the theming of the game, like overall thoughts on Pikmin?
also, when my younger sister Lauren, we never had a GameCube growing up, but we always wanted to play Pikmin because it looked so cute.
Yeah.
And we were in middle school, and it's an extremely cute game that's sort of where my preferences lie. I love Animal Crossing. Paper Mario was totally it for me. I play video games because they're cute, and yes, they may stress me out, but they're just it's an escape. Hyper realistic games don't really do it for me. I don't like scary games. This is very, holy crap! It's so freaking cute. It's that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what a lot of my friends recently, especially during the pandemic, have been asking, hey, I'm thinking about kind of getting into games, but I really like, cute things. And I'm like, well, the Switch is for you. All the best, cutest games are on the Switch. And it's and it's not just for kids, it's anybody can enjoy something that's just really cute. And I don't know. I really enjoy that. This is the place to get your cute fix.
It's one of the things,
except for bug snacks, maybe.
It's one of the things I talk about, or maybe rant about a little bit on the podcast. I don't know. Is that I don't always want violence in my games. I mean, there is violence in this game and in lots of cute games, if you're being honest. But I don't need the extra step of realistic hyper violence, right?
Totally, yeah. Anybody have any other final thoughts on the Pikmin franchise? Should we talk about Pikmin 4 at all?
Yeah, well, maybe in terms of this, I hope this game sells well, and I hope this game does well, and I hope Nintendo doesn't let Pikmin die, because this game has converted me, and I am going to seek out the other Pikmin, games to play, either borrowing from you or if they release them, I'll pay for it because I want to support it. But I think. For me, the themes are really, I'm a big, global warming, concerned about the future and the earth. And this game is dealing with that in a very real way in terms of, we didn't talk about this, but the lore, they don't really explain this in the game, but I looked it up and apparently they must say it somewhere. But the Kopaites don't know which are there's two different kinds of aliens, right, that come. Olimar is a Hokotation, and then the main characters, Alf and Brittany, and the captain in this game are Kopite.
Brittany.
So, yeah, Brittany.
Brittany.
Who I always play as Brittany. I like Brittany.
Yeah, she's the best. yeah.
Though I like Alf a lot too. But anyway, they're obviously a related species or whatever, but they can't tell when they're full. So they just eat and eat and eat. And
that's like my cat, dude.
Well, it's like humans, right? We just consume. And I think it's a really nice, reflection of us just our overconsumption and destruction of planets and that kind of thing. So
totally. Yeah. And like I said, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it's I get similar themes from the Donkey Kong Country games, how it's those games always start in this lush jungle with all this wildlife, and the later levels are always fucked up factories
on fire,
on fire with oil everywhere, and it's just about the human kind of, industrial kind of greed takeover, destroying the environment. And I get those same themes from this series, and I really like, when technology and video games and new kind of stuff explores that, because it's it doesn't all have to be bang, bang, shooting your enemy. I've got a power gauntlet that I can kill people with, it's going back to a simpler kind of gameplay type and a simpler kind of theming, I think is really, really nice in games. I do want to just give a quick lip service to the fact that Shigeru Miyamoto did say that Pikmin 4 was almost done 5 years ago. So who knows, if and when that game will come out, or if they rolled a lot of the stuff into bonus content for this game, potentially.
That's something I haven't heard anybody else say that could be true. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was a versus competitive style game or whatever, and they just kind of added those features into this.
Or they thought it'd be Olimar coming back, and they just made that. Yeah. But if so, then it wasn't very much content. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah. Nintendo is, if Metroid Prime 4 has taught us anything, is they're not above completely scrapping a project if it's not living up to expectations. And I know the Pikmin team is like relatively small. Like these games are made by a small group of people, and they've, I think Pikmin 3 restarted development at one point. Like it was completely scrapped and started over. So, I'm sure they're constantly working on stuff, but I definitely love to see a continuation of the series. And yeah, I agree with you, Patrick. I hope it sold well enough to I honestly think even if this game sold like shit, like they'll still continue this franchise. For some reason, they just keep making Pikmin games, and I'm glad that they do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll call it there unless anybody else has any other ending thoughts for us. We'll take a real quick break then, and when we come back, we'll talk about all the other games we've been playing recently. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the games we've been playing recently. I have been playing a lot of the, like, I don't know what you call them, like evergreen Switch titles, like watching election news, like what you're talking about, David. Like, been playing Mario Maker 2 and Smash, and I've gotten really back into Animal Crossing, and I'm going to talk about it now. I think it's what I needed. I needed a really chill game because Pikmin 3 was not chill for me. I was yelling at my kid, and this game is one of the things I never really got to do in Animal Crossing when we were all booming playing it, was because I was sharing an island with my wife and my kid, who have both fallen off as well. I couldn't do everything I wanted to do, or I felt weird about it. But now I'm just making that island do whatever I want. And my wife planted so many fruit trees and so many flowers that I just get on there and just move them around. I'm just moving them around. Yeah. And it's satisfying. I have paths. I mean, I've been really enjoying just that aspect of it, of like kind of island management and watching a show.
It's like you got your own condo and you're going to put Rush posters on the wall.
Totally.
Exactly. I was saying, it's like, this is your bachelor pad.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my Mario poster up.
Yeah.
That you bought with Nintendo points.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's cool that you found a second, because you did play it with your family.
Yes.
And so it totally makes sense that you would find like a second wind in playing it by yourself.
I have. And I think I'm finally doing some of the stuff before I was just grinding to like pay off my loan, and that was like what I was finding enjoyable. And then I paid off my loan and I kind of fell off, but now I'm just using it to chill out, and that's actually been really nice. And I've been playing other games too. I beat the first Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney game.
Nice.
So I'm on to the next one in that trilogy, and I finally got past that battle in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that I was complaining about. So I've been enjoying that too. That's mostly what I've been doing. I mean, I've actually been jumping around a lot, but it's been fun.
Dude, Patrick, how about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 soundtrack?
Yeah, I really like the game, great music. I've been playing it a lot when I've been doing other things, because I don't know why, but it's the music, just, good game.
It's a great game.
Nice.
I'll go next. I've been playing one game, and that's Hades. And it's great. I definitely think it's in my top 5 games of the year.
Better than Flight Simulator?
I mean, in Flight Simulator, all I was doing was crashing into people's houses. So pretty close. 4 or 5. The Discord is great because I would never venture outside of some of the other weapons. So I never ventured with like playing the shield until I think it was Ryan was like, he played with the shield almost consistently and played pretty well and finished and escaped with that. So I've been exploring with different weapons, and that's been pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You going to be getting some Xbox Series X gameplay in this week?
I don't know what games I'm going to play. I bought a console and I don't know what games there's out.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You got Watch Dogs Legion. You got lots of new games coming out.
Valhalla's getting lots of good reviews.
Yeah.
I'm scared to play any Assassin's Creed because it's like a time sink.
Yeah.
And if I start it and if I'm like 10 hours in, I have to complete it. even if I don't like it.
But it does sound like this is
you
one
and,
of the better ones.
You and I are different in that way.
Yeah. You'll just quit a game. I'll be like, no, I gotta finish it.
Dude, I stopped playing games I love for literally no reason.
Man. I like to follow the Walter White motto of like, no half measures.
No half measures. There you go. Half-ass. Don't half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
Exactly. David.
Yeah, I'll go next. Haven't been playing too many games. Let me start that over.
What?
Haven't been playing too many games. I was on a road trip, enjoying nature. Going on hikes and shit like that.
Oh, it's just like Pikmin.
Yeah, but so I didn't get to play that much Pikmin over the weekend. So I'm looking forward to playing that. Upcoming this week. I might. It depends. I might get AOC, Age of Calamity, not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this weekend. But I might just hold off because I still have Pikmin to play, and I've got a lot of other stuff, and I'll have my Xbox soon. So we'll see what I play next week. But out of the games that I did play, I did play a lot more Super Mario Brothers 35 after coming back from the trip because I finally had internet again, and I could actually like play some Mario Brothers 35. I did unlock Luigi.
Ooh.
So there you go. I've unlocked all the levels in Super Mario Brothers 35. I'm on a roll. I keep getting dubs. I keep getting ones. Very excited about that. Played a little bit of Nuclear Throne again. It's been the first time in a couple of years that I've been playing that game. That game is fucking hard, but man, such a blast to like put on during episodes of Great British Baking Show, which I've also been watching. But then other than that, I've actually been reading a lot. Did a lot of like audio booking during long drives on the trip. And then I've been really into this series called The Three Body Problem. I don't know if any of you guys are sci-fi heads out there.
Is that the Chinese one?
Yeah, it's Xixin Liu, I believe is how you pronounce his name, is the author. It's a trilogy of books. I finished the first book, which is called The Three Body Problem, and the second one's called The Dark Forest. I'm on that right now. Really fucking just awesome sci-fi series. It's kind of like a alien invasion, but like kind of a realistic, like long process of what the Earth would be like knowing that there's an alien invasion coming and it takes a long time for them to get there, but we know about it. It's a really cool series. I really recommend it. It just, for some reason, when we were talking about Pikmin, it made me think of it, like another kind of body coming down to Earth. Yeah. And then what would change because of that. And then the other thing I've been reading is I got the newest issue of Nintendo Force in, which is the Nintendo Power spiritual successor. Again, if you like this podcast, you would love this magazine. And it's so worth getting. It's so nostalgic to just hold a magazine, right? And if I could just quickly say, I have literally no idea how they actually make this magazine, because you subscribe to it on Patreon and you only pay $5 an issue, and it's every other month that you get it. And it's like normal magazines cost like $12 or something like that, and they have ads, and this is completely ad free for just $5 an issue, and it comes with a poster. I just don't understand how it exists. It doesn't make any financial sense to me how this could be a thing, but it's like, because of that, it's like the people who make this magazine are clearly doing it just out of love for the game. They grew up on this shit and they wanted to like put something out there into the world for the fans. And so I really appreciate it in that way. And the writing is great. They've got great segments and articles and stuff like that. So I really recommend checking out Nintendo Force if you like reading Nintendo news and stuff like that. Rachel, what have you been playing this past week?
This past week, just Pikmin. That's it. I picked it up on Sunday.
Yeah.
How about generally?
It's been great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, generally, I am also back into Animal Crossing. I really enjoyed the Halloween event and everything leading up to that. So that was a lot of fun, and I have not picked it back up since the November things have started since that update. But I am looking forward to that. Otherwise, my husband and I have been playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I just got that for the Switch recently.
Oh.
which was kind of fun. And then also chipping away at, I think I mentioned earlier, Galaxy,
Nice.
which I did play on the Wii, but it's nice to go back. I really like that game.
Oh yeah, such a good game. And you beat Paper Mario, right?
I beat Paper Mario.
Aww.
That was a ton
That game
of fun.
was so good too. Yeah. So many great, cute games.
Extremely, extremely cute.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
and I did, Matthew, you said you've been playing Hades, and I just purchased that because I think it was on sale. So I'm very much looking forward to getting into that. But I feel like it's going to be a time suck, and I'm going to need to sort of like, plan for
What if I told you the dialogue was cute?
I would say the dialogue is cute.
Hang on. I heard you can pet the dog. So
Yeah, this is true.
that's sort of like
You can
it
pet
for me.
Cerberus.
I will say Hades is a decidedly hornier experience than all of the games that we've been talking about so far.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that's the other thing that will get you to play.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
There you go.
I never thought about fucking Dionysus, but now I want to.
Yeah. That's everyone is hot in Hades is what the subtitle is of that game.
Awesome. I think that does it for this week's episode 89 on Pikmin. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on and talking to us about Pikmin.
Yes.
This was so fun. Thanks, guys.
It was a blast.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX most places.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet as @MonolithFiji. And what about you, Rachel? Can people find you online anywhere?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Rachel Kane with a K.
Nice.
Very good. Again, thank you very much for coming on the show. If you'd like to find our podcast on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Facebook and Instagram, at Switch Headz on Twitter. Remember that you can always join our Facebook group. That's kind of our message board or our forums where you can suggest show ideas. You can just celebrate in some memes. I don't know what that means. Or of course, you can also join our Discord, which is kind of like, a chat room that we use to talk about anything that's on the mind. We've got an Animal Crossing group there. We've got Pokemon rooms. We've got everything there. We play online games. It's a great time. Please join our Discord. You will not regret it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to today's episode on Pikmin. We'll be back next week with an episode maybe on Age of Calamity. We'll see. Well, I don't know exactly what we're talking about. We're just playing. We're rolling with the punches, baby.
Just like America.
Just like America. Thank you to everybody who did vote. You turned Texas blue. No, I'm just kidding. We're out there. We're doing our diligence. Hopefully, we've got a nice 4 years ahead of us. We'll see what happens. For a brief moment, 2020 started looking up. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you very much. There's still a pandemic on. Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you wear your mask and be safe out there. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. We love you very much. Bye-bye.